All right, for everybody that is listening and watching, we have posted on the GitHub page the bit.ly URL to join in. We can only have 9 people into the hangout at a time.
Yeah, so
So,
when you get a chance, ask your question when you're done. Drop out. When you see someone drop out, if you're not in, feel free to try and join in. So, right?
yeah, got it.
So, JP's here. Wow, whoa, we're getting some people.
Deborah
Deborah's here.
Carrata.
Deborah, what? All right. So, how do we take person? I think Anas was here first, so we just start with
Yeah.
him.
Yeah.
Anas, you want to go, man? What are the 3 factors that weigh the most when it comes to sleeping? That's a good question. I think that's actually a really good question. I'm gonna say I'll explain a little bit about what Joe and I and Kip and Dave are gonna do on Monday night, and I'm not gonna do all the details. I'm just gonna give a lot. We're going to, and Joe, just jump in and correct me wherever. We're gonna separate like all the performance talks into one group, and we're gonna separate all, like, if anyone wants to talk about any other material or like any sort of like anything that's like really topical, if more people are talking about the same thing, we kind of separate them all into a group of people, and then we check to see, like, we'll weigh them all against each other and pick. Basically, we have your title and your description to pick which one we think is better, and we only rarely look to see if you're like a known speaker. We normally go, if your talk title sounds better, we don't care if you're famous or not, we'll pick you. That makes sense, Joe? Am I right on that one, Joe?
Yeah.
So what we're looking for to say, if we have 2 talks on, like, let's say performance, or like let's say John Papa wanted to talk about Style Guide and Todd Moto wanted to talk about Style Guide, and we had to weigh which one we wanted out of the 2. We really start looking for X factor things, like, did one of them make it sound like it's going to be a lot more fun? Did one of them make it sound like it's going to be a bit more memorable? And stuff like that. I think this year we're probably going to not give precedence to people who have already spoken. Like, so if you've already spoken at ng-conf, your proposal needs to be really, really, really good, because we're not going to give precedence to people who have presented at a lot of the bigger Angular events. So
I think that another way to, or another spin to put on this is, I know that he asked for 3 criteria. I think there's 2 really strong criteria that we definitely look for. We start with content, right? We look for a talk that has content that matters, that we're interested in making sure gets into the conference. So if you've got a talk that is really cool but doesn't have much content, no matter how cool it sounds, it probably won't make it. Then after that, we look for style, right, or personality, some kind of a wow factor. So there are certainly some talks that have a very crazy title, and that will catch our eye, but also it doesn't necessarily have to be a fun style, just has to have some personality and wow factor in it. So those 2 things, I think, are 2 of our big criteria. Then who you are matters less. It is nice if we can see an example of a talk that you've given, so that we can see that you have some comfort being in front of people. We like to put first-time speakers up, but this is a really big event, so we try to keep that risk low. And hopefully you've given some talks at least some meetups that we can check out.
Yeah. If it's okay, I'd like to give an example. And Joe, I think you know what example I'm going to give. Is that cool?
Yeah.
Okay. So last year we had, like, I don't know, 8 or 9 people that wanted to talk about performance, and we grouped them all up, and we ended up with one of them that just sounded so much more engaging, so much more fun, based on the title and the description. It sounded like this is the talk. I'm definitely, like, I'm definitely going to put this on the stage over the other ones. And it was from a brand new speaker who had never presented really at events. And that was Scott Moss's talk called Sasquatch is Real. And so when you look at like what Scott did, he really killed it. And he was a first-time presenter, so we gave precedence to a first-time presenter. But he really killed it. His title was epic. His description was epic. And then when he got up on stage, those were both on par with his proposals. So, like, he really made it easy for us to gravitate towards his talk over the other ones. And so,
Right.
and as a person trying to speak at the event, I feel like that's kind of your job, is to say, I want to make it not only so that the speakers, the organizers, Joe and Aaron and Dave, want to hear me, but I want to make it so that everyone wants to hear this talk. And if it's a safe talk called Do's and Don'ts of Directives in Angular 1, I mean, that's a pretty safe title. But if you're going to go out there with some crazy talk title that we think is going to be a lot of fun, but it's not all fun because you only have 20 minutes to teach something, and we think it's going to be real educational, then you're making the job easy to pick you. And that's really the best advice I could say, is just make it easy. Like, make my eyes have to see what you're talking about. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So Mike asked a question over here on the site. He said, "What does it mean? So does that mean there's a lot of weight in on the title?" What do you think, Joe?
I think there is. I think a title absolutely has a ton of weight, and you should spend almost as much time on your title as you should on your abstract. For example, Scott Moss's talk was Sasquatch is Alive? Is that what it was?
Sasquatch is real, yeah.
Sasquatch is real. So definitely the kind of title that jumps right out at you. Absolutely. I mean, a title is your very first impression for the talk. I don't know that we necessarily filter out talks based on a bad title, but a good title definitely keeps you in for further filtering rounds, absolutely. Then your abstract, is secondary, but or is the next piece that also has to be good, but title is very important. So a bad title will definitely hurt you.
Yeah, I think that's a fact.
Yeah.
I think that's a fact. So we have another one from Anas. It says, "Sounds great. I recently spoke at DevFest, PayPal, Cisco, but I'm new to ng-conf, so I'll definitely try it." Cool. Good luck, man.
Yeah.
Okay. Anyone have a question? Anyone who wants to take yourself off mute and ask a question, feel free.
Hey, Vipul.
Hey, Alex here.
Hey, Vipul.
Hey, Alex.
Hey, Vipul. I want to talk to Gopal here.
I have a question.
You can hear me. What are some topics that you're getting a lot of?
Hey, Alex.
No.
You're not coming through clearly enough. Do you mind posting it into chat?
Yeah, it's super choppy, bro.
Yep.
All right.
I have a question.
All right, go for it.
What is the dressing code for the event?
Dress code.
Isn't there a special one for him?
Well, if you're Ward Bell, you have an entirely different dress code than most people.
We turned the dress code policies over to Ward.
Yeah. Yep. Ward's in charge of dress code policies this year.
Yeah.
For anybody who's seen Ward at a conference, he always dresses crazy garishly. So, right. To give that question a serious answer, though, we have the same dress code that you'll probably find at any other conference. Your clothing should be not, offensive. It's probably about it. So we don't want to see swear words on shirts and stuff. I'm not really related to CFP, but
yeah. So
CFP.
No one's jumping out to ask questions, so I'm going to go ahead and go back to this one that Mike asked about the title. Is the title something?
Actually, I've had a follow-up question.
Oh, go ahead.
So I actually am going back and forth between a couple titles. So what I did in the submission that's already in is I put the actual title as the title, and then in the notes also mentioned that I'm open to change it, and threw a couple other suggestions down there that may be a little bit more catchy and a little bit more not as direct about what the talk is about.
That's fine.
Yeah.
I don't know if you want the examples now or not, but
No, we don't need them now. We'll knowing that you did that, I think probably multiple people are doing something like that. I've seen it in a couple emails, so we'll definitely consider that. Like, we'll look at that.
Yeah.
Okay.
And speaking about that kind of stuff specifically, like I think people trying to break into the speaking scene, not just ng-conf, but really any conference, user groups or anything, I think you do need to put a lot of weight on your title. A few years ago, I really, really wanted to speak at Fluent.conf, like a lot. And I submitted like 4 proposals of my own, ES6, Grunt, a lot of things I was really passionate about back then, Angular. And then, like, because I have a friend named Dave, Geddes, you guys know Dave, he's one of the organizers here. We really kind of wanted to present together, but we just threw together this goofy proposal, and we really had no idea what we would end up speaking about if we got accepted. But we threw together this insane talk title, and the description was like outrageous. But neither of us really cared about that talk. Neither of us was like, I really want to give this talk. I know exactly what I'm going to be talking about. We threw together a proposal that sounded like it was a moonshot on talks, and they ended up, of all the talks we picked, they picked the one we least either of us wanted to give, which was that one. And so we were like, I really learned a lesson then. We pulled it together and gave a really cool talk, but it taught me that if you force the organizers to pick your talk, they will pick your talk. Like, if you put something out there that everyone's going to want to see, the organizers basically have to pick your talk. And so, like, just make it easy on yourself by doing something that's super bold. It's not just, hey, these are lessons learned at my company where we do Angular. Like, those are super safe. You have to do something like really, really courageous and kind of out there. And I think those are the ones that are going to end up getting picked.
Right. Let's take a quick second and go back over for anybody who has joined how we're going to handle this. Again, there's only 9 people that can be into the Hangout at any one time. So if you're watching the Hangout on air, then we have put into the notes on the Google Plus event the URL for the actual Hangout. So keep trying to join. And then we've also tweeted it out from the ng-conf account and from my own account. So you can find the same URL there if you don't know where the Google Plus event is at. So that's the URL to actually get into the Hangout so you can ask your questions. We'll also keep an eye on the ng-conf Twitter account. For those who are in, maybe it'll be easier if you could put your question in text form and just throw it into the chat, then we can answer it, or at least indicate in chat that you have a question. I know that some people might be joining from overseas and will have a hard time hearing them. And then for those who have asked their questions, like Anas, if you don't have any more questions, if you don't mind jumping off so that other people can slide in and get their questions answered.
I have a question.
Appreciate it.
Can you hear me?
Yeah, we can hear you.
Hi, my name is Nick. I work here at the University of Virginia, and I am building an Angular application currently, and I wanted to ask about possibly submitting a proposal. So I just want to float the idea, and feel free to shoot it down or say, yep, submit it. I just wanted to get your thoughts on it. So basically, we have a course registration system. So when you want to go ahead and sign up for courses, we let you have a set of bid points so you can indicate your interest in a course. So each of our students gets around 3,000 bid points, and they indicate how important their courses are, and they do that through the application. One of the things I'm building is an Angular application that helps them plan for their courses, and it's been a real good experience for me to go from an old world of developing in a non-responsive, kind of, I would say, immediately responsive world of, let's say, HTML 1, 2 to really, I'd say, the latest technology. And so would a proposal that just walks through me explaining my experience and why I think it's an excellent technology and what we've learned from it be a possibility? How would you counsel me? And should I just not do it? It's just not going to get accepted? Or
talks about experience generally fall down into the very safe category that we don't see a lot of. What we would look for to accept a talk about that sort of a topic would be something very specific and interesting that you have done that also would be widely applicable, not necessarily to 100% of people. For example, if you have a talk about really, really tuning the edges of performance, well, that's applicable to a fair amount of people, but a lot of people don't need to bother with performance.
Right.
Or if you have a talk about some specific aspect of performance, because you countered maybe kind of an edge case, but it's something that still could be of interest to a lot of people, then those would be talks that might make it through. But a lot of people have built a lot of Angular apps, so general talk about, hey, we built an Angular app, it's interesting, here's what we did, is going to have a fairly poor chance of getting through. Aaron, jump in here and
Yes,
Right.
I was just gonna echo you and say, we're gonna have 1,400 people in the room, each of whom has gone through the exact same love relationship that you're experiencing with Angular. We all did.
Right.
We all went, oh my gosh, this thing just changed my life, and I
Not
love
to
it.
mention 5,000 people on the stream,
Yeah, on the
live
live
stream, and another 100,000 or 200,000 views.
So everyone there, it knows exactly your love and how exciting it is. I will splinter from that and say one of the first groups of talks that we're going to throw away, because we have to filter through a couple hundred talks at this point, and we only have, like, if we gave each talk 3 minutes to talk about, that's 3 minutes times 200 talks, so that's 600 minutes. That would be 10 hours of straight talking about talks.
Right.
And we have to, and that would only get us through only talking about each one. That wouldn't even get me into the decision round of like deciding which ones we're going to talk about. So
Right.
we initially,
Another 6 minutes for those, right?
yeah. So we initially will throw away any talk title that is titled "How Angular Changed X Organization," and we get a lot of companies that are like, "Hey, this is how Angular changed my company," or "This is how we're using Angular at so and so," and we don't really have a lot of room for those kind of talks because we know we get your story. That's why we're all here. Like, we all experience the same thing. So I'm gonna say echo with Joe, but I'm always way more blunt than Joe is. I don't think this is a good talk title for ng-conf. I think it's a great talk title for a local meetup, though.
Right. Yeah, I got you. Well, that's
Now-
good. I'd rather hear that than do the work and then all of a sudden say,
Right.
yeah, all right, well, cool. Thanks for the bluntness.
Yeah, no, I mean, that's how I would want it pitched to me, so I'm just trying to deliver it the same way.
Can I call
Yeah.
you your bluntness?
You can call me your bluntness.
Now, if your company has done something very unique, really unique, then that might be something that people want to hear about. Like, we always consider this for the fact of, these are going to end up on YouTube. 1,400 people are going to see it, but there are tens of thousands, dozens of thousands of Angular developers in the world. So when these talks end up on YouTube, we want to know that they'll have lasting value, that people later on down the road are going to say, oh, there's this talk, and this is really not just interesting, but also useful to us. So that's a big criteria.
Yeah. So I'm not saying, Nick, sorry, I felt like I left you saying do not submit a talk title, and that's not what I'm saying.
No, I got you. I completely got what you're saying.
If
you explained it very well. No need to go back over it.
Well, but if in your experience, you're like, dude, we figured out how to, we quickly ran into a problem with Angular. I don't know what it was, but everyone has that moment where you run into a problem with Angular. And then you're like, this is how, like, we ran into a performance problem, or we ran into specific browser problems. Exactly, right? And you're like, and I think I've sharpened the saw in that one area more than I think most Angular developers do. And you can come up with a confident title, and you can figure out how to prune out all the specifics about University of Virginia and just say, I'm going to talk today about a thing. And you can figure out how to get a 20-minute proposal for a 20-minute thing, specifically very laser focused on one topic. Leave all the this is how it changed the University of Virginia out. Then all of a sudden, now we've got a talk where I want to hear that talk, and I want you to submit that talk. So So yeah, I'm just saying look at it from a different angle and submit that.
Sounds good. Thank you for your time.
And again, for anybody that is watching the live hangout and has a question they want to ask, the URL to join in is posted on the Google Plus page and also has been tweeted out from the official ng-conf account. So you hit that URL. Only 9 slots on Hangouts, so if it says that it's full, just keep trying to jump in. I think we have Raul next with a question.
Raul, vamos. We can't hear you no, we can't hear you, bro.
Can't hear you, bro. Can you put it into chat?
I apologize to everyone. I'm like doing this on my lunch hour, so I'm gonna eat my fries.
All right. So while our rules checking,
Anyone
Alex,
else?
Deborah, do you guys have specific questions to ask? And if you're trying to talk, your mute button's up at the top.
Yeah. All right, Deborah, you got something for us?
No questions right now.
If no one's Alex is raising his hand, but he needs to unmute and talk to
Can you
us.
hear me now?
Now we can.
Yeah.
Awesome. Sorry about that, guys. How are you doing?
Good.
Good, man. How you doing?
Great. Well, first off, thank you for doing this. This is very helpful. My name is Alex Castillo, and I have submitted 3 proposals so far. I wanted to get a little bit of an idea of what are you guys, if you have any insight of what type of topics or categories you're not getting a lot of proposals about, maybe that will help, kind of like balance the different like talks. So any categories are you don't have a lot of content for?
That's a good question.
We don't actually know.
Yeah, so I'm gonna say we generally have some ideas to give you, but specifically on which categories do we want or do we still need, we don't know that. Because like I said, it would take us 10 hours of straight looking for me to be able to do that, and we've dedicated the day after it closes, so Monday, President's Day here in the U.S., to sit here and like non-stop. We're just going to brute force our way through it. It's going to take us hours. We're going to be exhausted by the time it's done. Half of us are going to be asleep when it's over, but we're going to go through it. So we don't know which categories, but I can give you some specifics. We need less Angular 1 than we've ever needed. In the past, it's been all Angular 1 and only a couple Angular 2. This year, we need more Angular 2, more less Angular 1 type stuff. Like so.
Yeah. And certainly you can come up with like a bunch of specific categories that you got to have talks on, right? Like we've got to have talks on performance. We've got to have talks, some kind of a talk about maybe animation. We try not to do too many talks that are like, hey, I'm using this particular backend with Angular, just because it can be too specific.
Yeah, it doesn't apply to everyone.
Right, but if you look at previous ng-conf talks, go on the YouTube channel and look at them, you'll actually see that, it's obvious there are some categories. We might have some soft skills talks. I think we haven't really done a lot of soft skills talks in the past, but we're definitely not opposed to soft skills talks at all. And then this year we've got a lot more categories as well. We've got the workshop category. We've got the science fair category, which we really hope that we get some cool submissions for that. We've had already seen some really cool stuff for science fair, and we hope we get a lot more science fair submissions. And so there are some categories, but we have no idea what is going to be under and over. Also, the Google team comes and talks, so they will have also their specific categories of talks that they'll be giving as well.
So to kind of go along with what Joe's saying, look at the layout of the land, and you need to jump clear up to the front of the edge. Don't jump off the cliff, but get up next to it.
Okay.
And look at like, you know that I need to do an RX talk, an RxJS, because Angular 2 is going to heavily embrace observables, right?
Yeah.
And you know that I'm going to need some TypeScript stuff. You know that, right? But you also know that I'm going to need some ES5 Angular 2 stuff as well, right? And I don't know if the Angular 2 I don't know if the Angular team's going to cover that. You know that I'm going to need like, we're going to need to talk about observables and all these new concepts that ng-conf has never had before. Really, any Angular conf, because they're new paradigms in Angular 2, right?
Yeah.
And so you just kind of have to really investigate, and the people who do the best at like analyzing what's out there and what's needed and really submit a super compelling talk title, they're going to get picked. And we don't care what country you're from. We don't care what company you work at. We don't respect a small company more than a big company or vice versa. Like, we just want the best talks for the people on the live stream and the people who have purchased a ticket to be there. So,
Right. I think it's also a good idea to look at past years, and the more that you understand about the Angular team and what they will likely be talking about, the more that you can make sure that you're putting together a talk. Like, here's an example. Matthias wrote the Angulars, or the animation stuff. He writes the animation stuff for Angular 1 and 2. So if you put together a talk that's just a very generic, here's what animation is in Angular 1 and 2, Matthias is going to be talking about that. So that's not, you're really unlikely to get picked. But if you had a talk that was like some specific thing, like, oh, I did this amazing thing with animation that even Matthias would look at and say, wow, that's very cool. That's the kind of talk that would make it in, even though it's about the same subject that one of the Angular team members will talk about.
or, because a lot of people are submitting because they want their name to be known on the big stage, but a lot of people are submitting because they just want to, they didn't get invited and they want to take it to the event. So for a lot of people, we have for you Faraday. So if you have a 60-minute workshop that people can go to and it sounds really fun, submit it. I'm just pulling this off the top of my head. Like Angular 2 with the Twilio API and doing like test messaging and stuff like that. Like, I don't know, something that sounds really fun. Like that most people aren't going to know how to do. You want to sit there and do a workshop around that? We also have we have a whole day where we're going to need to fill it up with workshops that we've given. We're accepting proposals for those as well. Those aren't going to necessarily be on the live stream on YouTube, but all the 1,400 people at the event will see them, and it will get you at the event. So yeah.
Great information. Thank you so much, guys. I really appreciate it.
You're welcome.
Another reminder to anybody that's viewing, the way that we're hosting this is there's only 9 spots to jump onto the Hangout, so we can only have so many people in. So for those who are watching live, the URL to get into the Hangout is either on the Google Plus page or it's been tweeted by the official account. So you can jump in to get your questions asked. But there's only 9 spots, so just keep trying to jump in until you get in. For those who are in, once you've had your questions answered, please jump out to let other people jump in. So we got a question here from Mike.
Thanks. So my question is, the description that's in the submission, is that what's going to be on the website, or would there be a chance to tweak that after it was accepted?
Yeah, we can absolutely tweak it once it's accepted. So if we didn't do 2 spots, one for the submission for us and then one for what to post out as your abstract. So if you can customize it to the organizing committee for the selection process and then make some tweaks to it for what you want actually to display on the page.
Yeah.
No problem.
And then my follow-up question is, so the talk that I already submitted, I submitted as a 20-minute talk, but it could also potentially be done during Faraday as well. Do you want that just noted in the notes, or would you rather 2 submissions?
2 submissions.
Yeah, it's easier for us to have 2 submissions.
Just like you would never submit one resume to 2 companies, you'd custom your resume for each company. You should custom your talk title for each different kind of event you're trying to propose. So if you're doing a 20-minute talk, that looks very different from a 90-minute workshop. So
Maybe
Make
not the
sure-
title, but certainly the abstract.
Yeah.
Okay. Thank you. Those fries look good.
They're good, man.
Anas, you it looks like you have or Keenan, do you have a question? You've been here for a bit. I don't think Keenan dropped.
Keenan has been chatting a thing.
Right.
I think Keenan's got an idea about Oculus Rift. I'm not necessarily saying give a talk about Oculus Rift, but if you wanted to say this is how you do split view apps, because in Oculus Rift you have to have a split view, right? One for the left eye and one for the right eye. So if you wanted to talk about doing split view 3D web apps with Angular 2, all of a sudden, like augmented reality, fine, whatever you want to call it, I'm fine with that. And if the Oculus Rift is your prop, good, then do that. But I wouldn't put Oculus Rift in your title. I would say augmented reality apps with Angular 2, and yeah.
That could also be submitted as a Faraday science project.
Or a science project, exactly.
Yeah, and that way it wouldn't be so much you need to worry about how to present it and wrap it up in a nice presentation, but just do something really cool. And the more Angular related it is, the better.
Yeah, definitely.
But the science fair doesn't, correct me if I'm wrong here, and science fair isn't necessarily have to be 100% Angular related. We're supporting the maker movement regardless of whether or not you can tie it into Angular.
Let's say we get to a point where we don't have enough of them, we'll probably just take them no matter how Angular related they are.
Right.
But imagine a world where I've got more than I need and I have to pick. I'm definitely going to I'm not even going to try and hide this. I support the maker movement. I'm going to pick the ones that are most applicable to Angular. And I'm going to do that shamelessly because I think that's what this is about.
Right. So. But if you had something like completely blow your mind awesome that wasn't Angular related, that still could make it in, you know?
Yeah, no, totally.
Some pretty crazy cool stuff.
Yeah,
it's
not necessarily has to be Angular, but
that's going to be a huge point. I mean, that's like the number one criteria by far.
Yeah.
All right.
So Keenan said, "Can I speak?" I don't know what that means.
He dropped off. Maybe that was just a question. I'd like to talk. Once again, for people who are viewing, if you do have questions, the URL to jump into the Hangout is on Twitter or it's on the Google Plus page. There's only 9 spots to get into the Hangout. You only have 9 people in the Hangout at any given time. So if you have questions, jump into the Hangout, and then we can get your questions answered and then jump back out again. Todd or Raul, do you have another question? Todd, I think you've been here for a while as well. Todd, do you have a question? No? Okay.
I do.
Oh, you do? All right.
I do.
Oh, Raul. Okay.
All right, finally.
Go, Raul.
He's gone again. Dang it.
He's gone again. Hey.
He's back.
Hi. Yeah, it looks like that the Hangouts tab just explodes, you know, and then I need to reboot. Okay, anyway. So, I think that hi guys, nice to see you again.
Hey, man.
Yeah. Well, the thing is, I think that I just sent like 3 talks, something like that, maybe. And well, one of them, it's like, well, you know that I have this project that is called Videogular, which is a framework based on Angular to create video applications. Okay, so the thing is that one of the talks that I sent, it's more a workshop, okay, because it's I think that it's more appropriate. I think that ng talks usually are very related to the new stuff in Angular, and what I have in Videogular, which I'm working on Videogular 2 with Angular 2 right now, it's more than, you know, a library, and I think that it's, you know, more suitable for a workshop. But the thing is, you know, I have this crazy talk in my mind like for the last year ago. So, and the thing is that I don't know what you think, you guys, because I didn't send this talk because I think that it was too crazy. But then I saw a tweet of like a few days ago saying that you want crazy talks. So let me explain my idea. The thing is that what I have in my mind is just to create a talk where my slides are videos with me in the screen, you know, and those videos it's like kind of a conversation with myself, and the guy that it's on the screen, it's kind of the bad version of me, you know, explain how all the video world framework works and how Angular 2 is awesome and why everything is so great. And the thing is that this kind of conversation could be really fun, but they need a lot of preparation because I need to record all the videos.
Yeah. Right.
You know, because of course I will have some videos that it's kind of these loop videos because I need to stay in a state, so I'm just waiting, and then when I move into the next slide, then I just create a new joke or a new a scene explaining the next point. Okay. So that's the idea, which is pretty crazy. I think that it's pretty hard and very difficult to make, and even harder to make it okay, to make it that it's a good talk. But I think that it could be interesting.
It could be interesting if you want us to totally get your vision. I would make a short YouTube video example of what you're talking about.
Yeah.
Okay.
And I would submit that link in your description.
Right.
This is a 2-minute version of my 20-minute talk I want to give. Let me see it. See if I can get your vision. Otherwise, you're lucky. I know Videogular. I think it's awesome. I think you would make an epic workshop for Fair Day. So I think either way, you're onto something that could be really fun for everyone involved. So either way, I think you need to be submitting more than one proposal on Videogular itself.
I'll do.
Okay.
I will do.
Okay.
Thank you, guys.
Yeah.
Thank you. And I'll try to make that small video.
Yeah. Don't put a lot of time into it.
Like a whole presentation, okay? You know, just what do you say? Maybe 2 minutes, but how you are going to see it on stage.
Yeah. And if it's crude, I'll see past the crudeness. Like if it's just really raw and not very polished, I'll see past that. I'll get what you're saying. So just give us a taste of it.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah.
Thank you, guys.
Anas asked a question in chat. We didn't read off.
Sorry, I
jumped out of the channel.
Interesting to know. It was interesting to know that we'll be considering soft talks as well. I would like to submit one of each, one technical, one soft.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, no. Okay, so his question was, can I submit more than one? You can submit 100. Like, yeah.
Yeah.
So here's kind of how it goes. Like, let's say, who's this guy on our chat right now? What's this guy's name? I'm clicking on it. I don't see his name. Todd. So let's say Todd's like, dude, I'm going to submit 15 talks. I'm just going to start saying no to him until if I find one I like, then I'll pick it, and then I'll go ahead and throw the rest of them away. So if you submit 100, don't submit 100. But I mean, if you submit if you submit 3 or 4, that's totally fine.
Yeah.
And in fact, I would recommend it for some of you.
I will do that. Yeah,
Cool.
I'm gonna absolutely do that. That's a great idea.
Yeah, definitely do that. Like, you don't have just one shot. That's why we did
So
a Google.
I can talk like right now. Is this okay if
Sweet.
I like?
Go for it.
Okay, so I figured you guys would have everybody muted or something, and of course I was on Chromium and I had the wrong package. It just blew up on me. So I swear I'm not stupid. But yeah, you guys
That's a
have
good talk
given
title.
you guys have given great advice so far. I thought that your bluntness actually was really well received earlier because it instantly told me like what to expect. So I'm a little nervous if you excuse me.
That's good.
So I've been working with Angular for I wouldn't say quite a long time. I'm not a big shot or anything, but maybe like 4 years I've been struggling and being bad at it. But I've been just creating with that and like iterating and re-iterating, and I've been using a lot of your guys' tools and a lot of tools from the Web Starter Kit and pulling them together in Git to just create something of like that you guys would probably hate, but just something that is like ES6 ready and automatically optimizes all your code and just really does everything for you in regards to material design. And it was kind of fun to be able to take Angular material and the material design spec and just go through and really get a good understanding of it. And I just got off watching the award show and the keynote presentation. I don't know if you guys know what I'm talking about for VR.
Oh, no, I didn't see it.
Yeah, I'll post. It's the VR that was at Unity at their conference. Like I was all excited because I'm like, hey, I'm gonna go to GDC this year because made a little bit of money doing some solo stuff, and now I'm kind of trying to get out in the developer world. And GDC is nothing. Like the Unity conference blew it out of the water. I'll post the links in chat for you guys, but honestly, I think it's a must-see. And I think if you watch that, you'll have an understanding of why I really want to get into the AR field, because I think with Firebase, going Firebase Java, they're really going to take those tools and run with it. And I think getting in the augmented reality side of things, we could use Angular and web components and do some really beautiful stuff and keep a good communication open between users of AR and users of VR. And I think Angular comes out to be a really good middleman for that. But I don't know. What do you guys think? But thanks.
I think that an AR or a VR or an AR and a VR, I don't care. That's solid. Like I look at it and go, man, this guy totally thought it through. Even if you pirate like all your ideas from the Unity conference that you just saw, I don't care. If it sounds great, and and I'm like, dude, I definitely need that at Fair Day as a science experiment that people can walk through and like mess with, and he can show off the components he's built with Angular 2 to make this happen, and he can show his GitHub repo that anyone can kind of reuse.
Okay.
I'm not gonna lie, dude. I probably would be super inclined to pick something like that.
Yeah. Okay, cool. So and you know what? I'm gonna do a couple things for sure. And if anyone here could help me, what if I just get some really good help from some guys and we get a good collaboration? Would you pick them as well? If it was good. Like it had to be good. Like let's say a guy's struggling with a topic.
I would need to see it.
Okay.
Yeah. And we always have to remember that there's only a certain amount of money available to bring people in to present and stuff.
Okay.
So more.
Well, tell you what, if that guy really helped me, I'd put up the money for him. So I don't know if that's an option or anything.
So each speaker is going to cost about $3,500 to get, like, for us to say, okay, we need to get you there, we need a hotel, we need a flight, we need some food, and we need to give you swag. We need to have a special speaker dinner for you. Like, so each speaker comes with a pretty significant, like, mind-blowing cost when you really look at what it takes. So
yeah, I accidentally signed up for Google Next, and I got that experience.
Yeah, so we're going to be selective, but again, if your talk is like, I have to have this, like, we're not going to be like, oh, dude, 2 guys. We're not going to do that because there's 2 presenters. Like, we'll pick you if there's 2 presenters. If we're like, this is a thing the Angular community deserves and needs, we're going to pick it.
So I just got to make it good.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, if you don't pick me, I suck. End of story. I'll get better next year.
No. It doesn't mean you suck because the best people are presenters.
Dude, that's how I feel, though. That I would feel like I suck.
Well, then I feel bad. Maybe you shouldn't submit then.
And this maybe this is valuable this might be valuable for everybody to hear, but when it comes to like multiple presenters, it's not an automatic no or even yes. We don't necessarily care one way or the other so much about multiple presenters, but we want to know that one, there's a reason for multiple presenters in any talk, right? It's not just a matter of I only want to speak for 12 minutes, so I'm gonna have somebody else speak for 12 minutes, and it makes it easy on me, right? The talk needs to justify, or a presentation in the case of like a fair day, it needs to justify that there's two people involved. Like, hey, the two of us, we built this thing. That makes sense. The budget doesn't allow for us to have two presenters on everything that's out there, but the budget does allow for us to have two presenters on some things. And as long as there's at least $5 left in the bank account when the event is all said and done, then we're all happy.
Yeah,
right?
we'll keep bringing speakers, exactly.
Right. But we just have to deal with the realities of that. So we certainly could reach a point if everybody was submitting talks with two speakers where we'd have to start turning them away just because there's just no more budget, right? But it's not the number one concern. So if you really feel like, hey, this is really a two-person talk, then submit a two-person talk.
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, I got to the point. I'm working on enough stuff right now that I'm gonna try to get it and Angular 2 ready, but there's a couple things that are kind of funky in regards to what I'm trying to do, and it is very nuanced. And I'm gonna see if I can work past it, but I'm gonna try for Angular 2. If I'm not looking successful, I'll let you guys know every step of the way, and I'll be honest about it.
Okay.
But if I find that becomes like a bigger burden, then maybe I'll seek help if there's a guy who knows he's really good but just is struggling with a topic.
Yeah.
Okay.
So. I appreciate it, guys. So you're just looking for quality and just, I guess, sincereness in work.
You got it, man.
All right, cool. That's helpful. Thanks, guys.
If that's what you understood from what we said, then we said the right things. That's exactly what we're looking for.
Cool. All right, I'll shut up. Thanks, guys.
Thanks, man.
All right, so for those who are viewing, if you do happen to have any questions, you'll have to jump into the Hangout to ask. The URL to the Hangout is both on the Google Plus page for the event, and it's also on Twitter. The official ng-conf has tweeted out the URL for the Hangout.
What's the link for the event? I can't find the event. I don't know why.
I'm putting it in our chat here, and
okay. I think that we got most. I don't really see any questions over there. So, yeah. Okay, Todd, unless it's you, I think we're almost done. Unless someone else wants to jump in here.
All right. We might want to, since right now at least we don't have any questions, maybe we can do a brief recap of questions that we had earlier on for anybody that's jumped in later on. So the recap was title's important, right? Title's very important.
Title's super important. Title and description, that's all we got. So if nothing's more if nothing's important, then I don't know what is more than that. Like those are really important.
Yeah, title's like half of what you're giving us, so that's very important. The top three things that we looked for: content, style, and then I don't know what number 3 is.
We don't. I don't know how to say this. We like people to present who aren't normally presenting at conferences like ng-conf. So if you feel like that describes you, we definitely want you to submit because we're looking for something very non-germane, a little bit more out of the box. Fair Day is going to be very something that I've never been at a conference with anything like what we're going to do on Fair Day, so I think it's going to be a lot of fun. So definitely submit. A lot of times when we have two talks that like let's say I was down to a talk about something that I felt needed to be at ng-conf, and this has happened in the past, just to be totally frank. And it's down to two presenters, and they both have their merits. I think they're both good, and I think they're both deserving of being on stage. And I'm having a trouble breaking the tie. Maybe Joe and I like one, and Dave and Kip are gonna pick another one. Eventually, we'll say to each other, these both deserve to be on stage. Are either of these presenters someone that we feel needs to have a chance to take the stage and represent the Angular community more than the other person? So at certain points, we'll look at the people specifically and use it as a tipping point. So I definitely want to encourage anyone who feels like, well, these conferences don't really have this normal, like I don't fit into what would be normal for that, like whatever that word means. I think you should submit, and we definitely want to hear what you want to say. Last year we had a teenager talk about how she learned Angular and how it's changed her high schooling, and we had the Angular team talk. So we had like the whole gamut there, and we had a lot of people in between. Scott Moss walked out on stage, and he told a story that like melted my brain. I still think about it. I'm just like, dude, this guy, I already liked him a lot, but man, that his story just made him like so much more endearing, and I still look forward to every talk he gives because of it. So I think everyone should submit. I think everyone should submit.
All right, so we've got a couple of questions that have been posted. The first question is, it's kind of a two-parter. Is it possible to get accepted for both a 20-minute talk and for Fair Day? I assume like maybe probably a workshop or something related. And then if I submit for both, is it possible to do the same content for both?
It depends on what it is, right? Like if you're going to give a talk about something that we don't want repeats, then probably not. But if you're going to give a talk about something like really, really cool and you're like, dude, and I'm going to have a Fair Day on this, I'm not. I honestly, because Fair Day's new, I don't know how we're going to react, but I don't think we'd be opposed to picking you for both.
Right. I would say right off the bat, absolutely, if you will not get selected to speak twice, no doubt about it, right? So you're not going to get selected to give two different sessions, but yeah, if you give a session and then you have a workshop to give, you could be selected for that. If they are on two different topics, definitely that could happen. If they're on the same topic, I think that could happen as well, just so long as we felt like, hey, this would make a great talk, and then people would be really likely to want to come in and show up like for a workshop for an hour, 2, 3 hours, and learn how to do it. So let's take the AR example, right? If you gave a 20-minute talk on, hey, I did this awesome thing with AR, and here's my little talk about it, and then on Fair Day, you've got a 2-hour thing where you're going to show people how to build an AR app with Angular 2. That's, to me, sounds like something that could definitely happen, Aaron.
Definitely. Like, I'm not going to lie. In fact, there's been events in the past where I wish that we had this option. A lot of people don't really understand what Fair Day is, so I'm going to take 2 minutes and pitch it real quick. So Fair Day it's really just 1,400 people in a room, and there's no speaker. Everyone just wandering around, networking, talking, and there's different booths with science fair projects, people doing cool things like AR and robotics and stuff, and how they've used Angular to do that stuff. Some of them are adults, some of them are kids who have Angular's helped unlock like some crazy stuff for them. There's also going to be like live events where we'll have like maybe a John Papa or someone walking you through the Tour of Heroes demo that's on Angular's website, and we'll have prizes, giving away prizes for those. And we'll have people, doing 1-hour workshops on different things. Like, and I don't even know what they'll be. Like, I know the native script team will be there doing an hour-long workshop on writing native mobile apps with Angular 2. And so it's just gonna be really kind of a shotgun approach at non-conventional type conference, and it's going to be a lot like an expo center. Like, it's going to be an expo really, and so it's going to be a lot of fun. So if you want to submit something like that, you just need to know you're going to be in a room. It may be a little loud. If you need quietness, we'll have other rooms that are set apart for you and stuff like that. We're trying to get like crazy things to happen at Fair Day. Like we'll have a bull pit or a bull riding thing. Hopefully, we're trying to get a battle bots where the robots like fight each other and beat each other up. We're trying to have that happen.
Yeah, a lot of fun, some fun along with the.
Yeah, so it's going to be very much like a fair where there will be like an expo, but there's also like fun things on the side. So.
I think it'd be really natural if you had a science fair project to submit about Angular 2 that you also submitted a talk about it, right? That would be very natural for us, or a workshop about it, right? Like, I did this, I built this, and then I want to talk about how I built it. I think that for us would be a very natural thing. Again, there's only so many slots for speakers, so for sessions, so whether or not you get submitted or selected. Another question that got asked is Fair Day before or after the main conference? It's right smack dab in the middle. So there's a pre-conference day, which is workshops. Then day 1 of the conference is the typical all-day long sessions. Day 2 of the conference is Fair Day, and then day 3 of the conference is all-day long sessions again, and then finally the day after is sort of a social event at a local amusement park. So that's the general overview.
Yeah, and speakers are invited to all of those.
Yep. Again, for anybody that's watching, if you wanted to jump into the Hangout, the URL for the Hangout's on Twitter or on the Google Plus page. We've got Lars has jumped in. Do you have a question for us, Lars?
Yeah, guys. Do you hear me?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay. Just real quick. Previously, you talked something about wanting close to the edge stuff, but not over the edge. I think that's how you put it. But I'm having a little bit of trouble figuring out where to put this limit, and I think that might be kind of difficult for you guys as well. I mean, the world is moving so fast that what's cutting edge right now might be very last year, 2 months from now. So how do you judge 2, 3, 4 months ahead of the conference what the close to the cutting edge stuff will be at the time of the conference?
So let me give you a kind of our initial reaction. So I think this is the first conference that I've really seen of this level that sold out tickets before we even announced the speakers. And we did that because we knew we needed to either book a bigger venue if the tickets all sold out, but we also didn't want to pick the speakers yet because it's changing so fast, like you're saying, that we wanted to wait until we were much, much, much closer to the event for people to describe and conceptualize their talks. So we totally get what you're saying. I'm going to give you an example of probably going over the edge, okay? Angular 2, in a web worker, in native script, on a Windows tablet. Like, that's probably like too much. I don't really need all of that in one talk, you know what I'm saying? Because you only have 25 minutes to talk about one of those, much less all of those. So it could be like in your excitement to get up to the edge and talk about something that is the latest things that we're caring about. You could definitely commit suicide by trying to bite off way, way, way more than you can chew in 20 minutes. So don't like jump off the cliff. Like, get right up there, pick a topic that you think is great or applicable, find a title that you identify with and that you think you can deliver, and come at that angle. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
Does that answer your question? I don't know if I did.
That perfectly, yeah. Thanks a lot.
And it's really hard to really draw that line of what's over the edge. You know, we're going to look at it and we're going to say this is over the edge or you know, not over the edge. But I don't think that rarely does wild get over the edge. Over the edge tends more to be like you're biting off too much, right? Or it's so niche that nobody cares, right?
Yeah.
Like VR and AR, very few people are going to be doing VR and AR, but people are interested in it, right? So if you come up with something that's like, hey, you know, I got Angular 2 to, you know, pet my dog for me. Nobody cares about that. But if you got Angular 2 to, you know, train your dog, you know, it might be something different, right? Like boring versus interesting, right?
Yeah, really.
We don't want to put a talk up there that nobody cares about, but what we do, but doesn't mean that it's something that everybody does.
Yeah. It's weird. There's no science to it. All I can say is, that's why I say submit multiple, so that you don't you don't feel like, oh man, I blew my one shot. Like, submit multiple and sleep well.
Yeah, so I went to React Rally. This is an okay example of this here in Salt Lake City. And they had a lot of great talks by the React team, very practical, hey, here's stuff that we're doing or that's coming along down the pike. And then the very last talk was Dave Smith, who's an amazing presenter, has presented at ng-conf before, and he presented this talk on how React waters my lawn, right? And maybe somebody went out there and got React to water their lawn after seeing that talk, but probably nobody did. But it was just an amazing talk, right? And it was the highlight of the conference. It was one of the best talks I've seen. So it was just presented really well and done really well, and it was the kind of talk that made, I think they had an easy time selecting that talk when they saw, hey, Angular, I got React to water my lawn. And he ended up actually doing it. If you haven't seen the talk, go watch it. Whether you do React or not, it's one of the best talks I've ever seen.
Yeah, it was awesome. I saw it. Yeah.
So here's a crazy talk title that we'll pick for sure if anyone has it. If you have twins and you named your twins Angular 1 and Angular 2, you're on the stage. Like, submit your talk. We're picking you. Okay? I don't even care what you talk about. It's in. Am I right, Joe?
Yep, absolutely.
Especially if you have a picture of Angular 1 and Angular 2. We're definitely...
We'll have to see birth certificates. But, yep.
Probably, but not necessarily.
You may have to bring them along with you.
Yeah.
Part of the talk. I'd like to introduce you to my twins, Angular 1 and Angular 2.
Angular 2. Because at that point, I think you may be the biggest fan of Angular. At that point, right?
Right.
You're literally the father of Angular. Like, it's insane.
Yeah, absolutely. All right. Do we have any more? No more questions specifically.
Hey Joe, I need to get back to work.
Yeah, I think it's time to wrap it up anyway.
Okay.
We're down to the lowest amount of viewers. So thanks everybody. If you do have any more questions, you can always email the info account to get more information, get specific questions answered. We tend to do a lot of like form responses like wow us, sell us, stuff like that. But if you have any very specific questions, go ahead and send it into the info account. But good luck, and we're excited to see the talk submissions, and thanks very much for listening.
Yeah. Thanks.
Okay.
See you guys.
Peace. Take care, y'all.